Hey, have you ever been told that you can't eat past 8 p.m., maybe even 7 p.m. if you want to get fit or drop some fat? Or maybe you've been told that you need to eat four, maybe five, even six meals a day. You know, that whole eat 4 to 6 small meals a day thing so you can keep your metabolism burning like a fire all day. Now you're wondering what's true, what's not, and what actually fits your lifestyle best so you can stick with something finally and get the fat off and keep it off so you can work on building some muscle. If so, you're in the right place today because we are absolutely going through that and several more items pertaining to meal frequency, meal timing, eating late, and all of that stuff. So, if you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're coming back, welcome back. My name is Lance, and since 2005, I have helped hundreds upon hundreds of high performing entrepreneurs, creators, and online professionals reset their metabolism, drop fat, build strength, and get back their edge without any extreme diets or any of the gym bro tactics that just don't fit our lifestyle. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here, and there we go. All righty. So guys, meal timing and fat loss, what actually matters for men over 35 or 35 and over, and what doesn't, all right? So the very first thing is meal timing. Does it even matter? Well, what does matter is calorie deficits for fat loss, okay? So if you've not seen my video yet on calories and how many calories you need for fat loss and what your macro ratio is, definitely go back and watch those videos as soon as you're done with this one. This one will still make sense, but that's going to help build more of a foundation. So the very first thing that we know is that calorie deficits are going to cause fat loss. But does meal timing actually adjust your fat loss? Does it make anything better? Does it make anything worse? Let me go and blow this up a little bit for us. So the thing is because meal timing actually has minimal impact on your calories, it's not going to have much of an impact on your fat loss. But hold on though, because there is going to be some things that will affect your metabolism, how you sleep, which affects your metabolism, and several other things, okay? So what does matter? Total daily calorie intake or total daily energy expenditure. That's going to be the key factor, okay? So how many calories you take in versus how many calories you're able to burn. Now, you may be thinking like, well, Lance, my Fitbit or my watch says I burn 2,000 and I'm only taking in 1,800 and I'm not losing weight. Totally get it, but a couple things. Number one is that those things are not going to be as accurate as what you want them to be when it comes to determining how much you're burning. Not to mention, there are also some discrepancies pertaining to what nutrition labels actually show you. They can be off as much as 20 to 40%, meaning that you might think that you're in a fat loss deficit, but you're really not, okay? Now, with that being said, we know that total daily calorie intake is a key factor, but aligning meal timing with your lifestyle can majorly improve your adherence to your nutrition plan. So that does matter. So what am I getting to is that more so than focusing on how many meals you need for fat loss, what's really going to make it better or most, let's say, important for adherence is going to be what matters for your life. Does 3 meals fit better than 6? Does 6 fit better than 4? What matters to you is going to be, does this fit my schedule every single day or at least close to every day so that I can stick with my calorie deficit? I can stick with my macro ratio, okay? So the thing is that it does matter having your meal timing, but it matters more so with your lifestyle because adherence is key. And if you can't adhere to it because you're like, man, I'm trying to stick with 6 meals a day and this just doesn't fit my lifestyle, it doesn't matter if that's better. Now, it's not, but if that were, it wouldn't matter because you're not able to adhere to it or stick with that process, okay? So what matters most is going to be lifestyle alignment. This is what's going to matter for each person. And again, every person's lifestyle is the key to determining this. So the bottom line is if it fits your lifestyle, if 3 meals, 4 meals, 5, 6, 7 fits, go for what fits. Now, there are a couple things that you want to keep in mind. I'll go through to make sure that we do adhere to the right thing. Some of that's going to be protein, fiber, etc., but it's more nutrient, we'll say nourishment, okay? So now eating earlier in the day can definitely play a role in feeling more satiated, having your cravings met, or making sure you don't create cravings. A lot of times people will skip breakfast, and then by the time they get to lunch or 1, 2 p.m., they're so hungry that and I can attest to this myself, that they're suddenly willing to give in to cravings that they wouldn't have had they just eaten breakfast, okay? So there are some things to keep in mind with this, but in and of itself, meal timing for fat loss doesn't play as much of a role as what you might think, like less than 1%. All right. Now, if you're getting on stage or something, which if you are, you're probably not going to be on this channel, but if you were getting on stage, yes, that would matter, your meal timing and so on and so forth, but several other things would matter that don't for the everyday high performing man over 35. Okay. So, with that being said, to maximize energy, to maximize or to reduce cravings, to maximize satiation, starting your day earlier with eating is going to play a decent role, but it's not meal timing per se. That's making sure that you're starting off on the right foot so that you're not having cravings by 2 p.m. Okay. So it's not meal timing creating fat loss. It's meal timing so that your lifestyle actually is playing a role and not standing in the way. Okay. Most important though is to focus on consistently eating within your calorie and macro targets and what works best for your schedule. So if eating 2 times a day or doing intermittent fasting might fit well for your schedule, but it's causing you to not be able to get all of your protein and your fiber in, that's not a good idea. However, if doing intermittent fasting, you're doing 2 times in your window, 2 meals, and you're getting your protein, your fiber, and your calories, keep at it. You're doing good. So this is what matters truly for meal timing, okay? Now, the next part is meal frequency. How often should we eat in order to get fat loss, in order to build the muscle that we're wanting to, okay? Now, that might be similar to meal frequency, and it is going to play a role as we're talking, to meal timing, but the frequency is how many meals we're going to be able to fit into our allotted day of being awake and all of this. So again, how often should you eat? Well, since we know that meal timing doesn't really affect calorie intake for most people, because it doesn't matter if you're eating every 3 hours, every 5 hours, every 1 hour, as long as you're feeling good, we can obviously go ahead and figure out that meal frequency doesn't significantly impact your metabolism either, but it can affect, as I mentioned, you getting enough fiber, protein, and macronutrients. So I kind of talked about that on the last one, which I probably should have talked about instead of getting your fiber and all of that. I should say if you go 2, 3, 4 hours and you're feeling like dizzy and you're feeling hypoglycemic like I can get, you're feeling hangry as it goes, then I would say that this here does matter. Your meal timing matters in that sense, but not for fat loss. Whereas on this one, if eating 2 times a day or 3 times a day feels good, but you're not able to get your fiber or your protein, or your micronutrients, that's not going to be a fit for you, okay? So the number of meals per day does not significantly impact your metabolism, but again, it can affect your fiber, protein, and micronutrients, all right? This is one reason that I say sometimes, but usually I'm against intermittent fasting for most, because most people, they're not necessarily doing it because they think it fits their lifestyle. They're in fact doing it because they think that there's something magical about like, oh man, I've heard that the hormones work better and I get more fat loss, so that's what works for me. And when I explain that, well, no, eating in a smaller window of time for your calories just means that if you're eating 4 hours in a day compared to normally eating 8 to 10 hours, do you think you're going to be able to fit as many calories in that 4-hour window? Probably not. So what it really is that intermittent fasting is shrinking the window of eating, thereby shrinking the calories being consumed. Okay? If you are eating in a restricted time window for eating, but you're still consuming the same amount of calories as when you eat 12 hours in a day, it does not matter. You're still going to come out on the other side the same weight, the same body fat. So that's kind of my disclaimer with that. If intermittent fasting fits for you, great. But if you're doing it for fat loss, you're not going to really see much out of that until you start doing like the 24-hour fat loss, or at least 23 hours and above, okay? So what you need to know about intermittent fasting or adjusting your meal frequencies, it does not guarantee fat loss, okay? Second thing is it can make it quite challenging to get all of your nutrients in, and it doesn't fit most people's lives. It dang sure doesn't fit mine. I don't mind fasting here and there where it's like I'll go a little longer between meals. Sometimes that can be good. It can, if you're not battling hypoglycemia. But for most people, doing 1 or 2 meals a day maximum doesn't necessarily fit, especially just doing one. So, take that for what it's worth based on what your lifestyle is. Now, the thing of it is as I mentioned, most people are not doing it for lifestyle alignment. They're actually doing it for the belief that it somehow does create more fat loss, okay? And the thing is, it definitely does not unless you get a deeper calorie deficit or it allows you to get a calorie deficit. So what do you want to do? Well, you want to choose a meal frequency that helps you to maintain your calorie deficit and also meet your protein, fiber, and micronutrient needs. It really is as simple as that. And as you see right here, this is basically how this all works. 2 meals of 900 calories is going to equal 1,800. 3 meals of 600 equals 1,800. 4 meals of 450 equals 1,800. Or 6 meals of 300 equals 1,800. This is 4 different styles of eating frequencies, and yet it all comes out to the exact same calories in, which means that if this person is burning or using approximately 1,800 calories, no matter which of these meals they choose, they are not going to lose body fat, okay? Does that make sense? Let me know in the comments if it does, or if it doesn't, and I'll try and clarify a little bit more. But that is ultimately the point there, is that if this is all true, you may as well choose what matters or what fits into your lifestyle, because when it fits your lifestyle, especially if you just learned about my 80-20 rule that I teach, this is going to mean that you're going to find it much easier to stick with your nutrition plan. If your nutrition plan is built to have a calorie deficit, this means that you're going to be seeing consistent fat loss, okay? So that's the whole premise with this. Now, I want you to check out my videos on calorie and macro needs if you've not done that, and then you can come back and figure out what meal timing you should have. So if you've realized it after watching my video that you need like 2,600 calories, you're going to do just like what you see right here, 2,600 calories, and figure out, do I want to divide that by 2, 3, 4, or 6, 5, whatever you want to do, and then just make sure you're able to stick with that as closely as you can, and that's going to keep you losing body fat until it's time to start putting on muscle, okay? With that said, some studies are going to suggest that evenly distributing proteins over at least 3 meals, they're going to say it's too hard to get all your protein in these 2 meals. So they're going to say 3 meals or more is going to be ideal. But the thing of it is that if 2 meals work best for you and you're hitting your fiber, which is going to be about 25 to 35 grams of fiber per day, and you're hitting about 0.8 to 1.2 grams of protein per pound of goal body weight, then you're good. But this does mean if you're taking in, let's say, 2,500 calories and you might need 180 grams of protein, that means you need 90 grams of protein per meal if you're only doing 2 meals. Okay? So just think about that. Is that something that's going to fit your lifestyle? Is that going to hurt your stomach? Is that going to feel okay? If not, probably need to go ahead and bump those meals out to at least 3, all right? But ultimately, if you're getting protein, fiber, and within your calories, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't. That's the beauty of this, okay? Now, if you're like me and you like around 4 to 5 meals a day, keep going. If you like 2 or 3 meals a day and it's working for you, keep going. But ultimately, it's going to matter that you're hitting calories first, protein and fiber second, and then from there, making sure that you're active enough to maintain all of that, okay? So you want to listen to your body's hunger cues. I'll talk about hunger cues in another video soon. And you want to adjust your frequency accordingly to that. Listen to your energy levels also. If you're feeling like I get hypoglycemic when it's been too long, change that up. Don't do it make sure that you're eating more frequently, okay? Flexibility is key here next to your calorie deficit, because there's no one size fits all. And what I mean by flexibility in this sense is, yes, you want the 80-20 rule flexibility, but you also want to be able to undulate or move those meals around. If you're like me, where it's like, I wasn't planning on doing a YouTube video today at 7:30 p.m. my time. My plan earlier was to get this done by around 5 p.m., but everything was crazy. So that means that my meal timing has been off. And if meal timing really mattered as much as some people worried about, I'd be screwed. The beauty of this is that you're not screwed just because you don't have a normal lifestyle with normal everyday routines. What matters is that you can habit stack, where you put your meals around other things that you do. Ultimately, as long as you're preparing, it really doesn't matter. So that's the cool thing. Okay, now the last one is late night eating. Is this bad? Is this going to create a problem Because again, if you're like me, if you're into tech, if you're working a business, you've got clients, you're, high performing, busy guy, then you might be subject to eating late at night at times. Okay. It's something that you may not be able to help. And I want to give you some, well, just best practices and some relief for knowing what to do. Okay. So we know that calories are the key. Obviously, I mentioned that on the other two, but eating late at night gets a lot of negative press. All right. So here's the thing. Since eating late at night doesn't directly affect your calories, unless you're eating at night past your calories and your macro targets, eating late at night is not going to directly cause weight gain or prevent fat loss either. That's some good news. But there are some things to keep in mind, okay? So late meals can lead to poorer food choices. It can lead to increased calorie consumption. It can also, if you eat too close to bedtime, it can disrupt your sleep quality. It can affect your deep sleep or your REM cycle sleep. And if this happens, that can start affecting your resting metabolic rate, which is this RMR right there. Believe it or not, having your sleep disrupted can affect your resting metabolic rate anywhere from 15 to 20%. If you think about like the fact that your resting metabolic rate is responsible for burning the bulk of your calories, imagine that your resting metabolic rate is like 1600, 1700 calories. Imagine just 10% of that being affected. That's you burning almost 200 calories less per day because you got poor sleep. But I didn't say it only affects 10%, it can affect up to 20%. So that means about 300 to 400 calories you can burn less because you got crappy sleep. Now, am I being extreme on this? Yeah, I'm giving some extreme examples, but I worked with a lot of clients who, they had such poor sleep, and once we got their sleep dialed in, all of a sudden they start noticing they're getting better strength gains, they're getting more fat loss. All of this stuff starts happening with sleep. So the reason I really harp on this is because I want you to know it's totally okay to eat at night if you need to eat at night. But do understand that if it starts to affect your sleep, that sleep is going to affect your metabolism, how much you're actually burning. So weigh that wisely. That's the whole key here, okay? Now, with that being said, what I normally tell clients to do is to finish eating at least 2 hours before going to sleep to make sure that your digestion and sleep is going to be optimal, okay? The other thing is aiming for high protein and low glycemic index foods are going to be absolutely key if you do want a late night snack too. So what does that mean? If you're eating at night and it's like, oh my gosh, I've only got a couple hours before I got to get to bed. It's not ideal. I don't want to do this, but I got to eat something. I'm low on my calories and I'm starving, whatever it might be, okay? Whatever scenarios. With that, number one, start with protein, okay? Choose a protein shake, jerky, beef, meat, whatever it is. Nuts are not a protein. It's a fat with some protein, by the way. So we choose a protein. Then we also choose a low glycemic index food. What is that? Well, this is going to be your type of carbohydrates or foods that have fats and carbs that are going to be slow glucose timing, meaning that you're not going to get like candy. We get a glucose spike, and when glucose spikes up, our body kind of freaks out a little bit and begins to send insulin to shuttle that glucose into a fat cell instead of the muscle, okay? So at night, that's going to be the worst thing for you, is choosing something that is really going to create an insulin spike. Number one, you're not going to sleep as well. Number two, if we're getting insulin spikes that aren't being spiked around your activity, like going to work out, that's not going to be necessarily a great thing, especially if we're doing this over and over again, okay? So that is the main gist of all of that. In summary, meal timing does matter, but not like what most people think, okay? Number one is make sure that you're within your calories. Number two, focus on protein and fiber. Number three, make sure that it is supporting your energy needs. You're not feeling hypoglycemic, and it's not impacting your sleep. So as long as those things are all equal and doing well, you're good, okay? You're good to adjust your meal timing any way you need to, your meal frequency too, and even eating at night. But if any of those start getting messed up, your sleep, you're feeling hypoglycemic, you're not getting enough energy, or you're not hitting your protein and fiber and your micronutrient targets, that's when you need to adjust it more so, but not just for fat loss, for overall sustainability and adherence long term. So if you found this helpful, guys, please don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe so that way you don't miss out on any of the upcoming videos I've got. I've got so many cool videos answering pretty much every question you can think of coming up. So for a deeper dive, though, be sure to check out the links below. You're going to see my ebook, Food, Love, and Fat Loss, and you'll see a couple other things as well. So thank you guys so much. If this was helpful, don't be afraid to share it as well. That helps me so much to get all of this content out to more people just like you who are looking to get in shape the most sustainable way possible, in a way that doesn't suck, so that you actually enjoy your fitness. That's why my program is called Joyfully Fit 365, all in the name. So thank you guys so much. You guys have an awesome rest of your night.